Okay, so this is E16-6, and we're going to it says on September 1, 2017, Sands Company sold at 104 plus accrued interest 4,000 of its 9% 10-year $1,000 face value non-convertible bonds with detachable stock warrants. And we all remember that as detachable, that means that we need to account for the value of the stock warrants separate from the bonds themselves. If they're not detachable and they're just convertible bonds, then it's all just considered a bond. Each bond and accounted for just like we did in Chapter 14 as one security. Each bond carried 2 detachable warrants. Each warrant was for 1 share of common stock at an option price of $15 per share. Shortly after the issuance, the warrants were quoted on the market for $3 each, and that's the value that we're going to use, is the market value of these things as they trade. No fair value can be determined for the Sands Company's bonds. Interest is payable on December 1 and June 1. Bond issuance costs of $30,000 were incurred. So the first thing we're going to do is, basically what we have to do is prepare this general journal entry to record the issuance of the bonds. And we're going to this is going to be on September 1, 2017, and we're going to have cash coming in. And let's calculate this. We'll say this is going to be, actually it's going to be the result of the other things. So I'm just going to leave that blank for now. We'll have bonds payable, and we'll put debit and credit here. For some reason my Apple Pen is working now. We have bonds payable, and that's going to be a credit for 4,000 times 1,000, or 4 million. And this is the face value for those bonds. We're also going to have the premium on bonds payable. And that's going to be, we'll just say C Schedule 1. And I'll put Schedule 1 down here below. Schedule 1, calculation of bond premium. Of bond premium. And the bond premium is going to be the excess of the selling price of the bonds. That is, we have 4,000 bonds times $1,000 times the selling price of 104, and that's stated as a percentage, and we get 4,160,000. Then we had these bond issuance costs. And I know that sometimes people account for those as a separate cost. It gets amortized separately. But I think it actually works better to just subtract it from the proceeds, less bond issuance costs, because those costs actually just reduce how much we got. And that was the 30,000. Remember, that's the 30,000 that's up there. 30,000. We'll say net proceeds. $4,130,000. And then we're going to subtract less the fair value of the warrants, of detachable warrants. And those detachable warrants, there were each bond, there were 4,000 bonds, is convertible. Each bond has a warrant that's detachable and has 2 warrants times 2. And each, okay, and so now we have 4,000 warrants times 2, and we're going to multiply that by the fair value of $3 per warrant, and that's going to go right there. So we have 4,000 times 2 is 8,000 times 3 is 24,000, and that's going to leave us with 4,106,000 net proceeds to bonds. And then we'll subtract from that. We're going to subtract the face value of the bonds, 4 million. And that's going to give you the premium on bonds payable, the premium on bonds, 106,000. Okay, so we're going to take this premium and put it up here, 106,000. We're also going to have the 24,000 for the detachable warrants, and we're going to call that paid in capital warrants, 24,000. Next, we're going to say, all right, well, but we also have these bonds that were issued on September 1, but they pay interest every December 1 and June 1. So the last time they would have paid interest, or they're going to pay out a regular 6-month payment on December 1, 2017, but we already owe some of that. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to do another schedule, Schedule 2, calculation of accrued interest. And here's what we mean by we're going to do the party formula. That is the principal times the rate times the time equals the interest. And the principal is 4 million. The rate is 9%. The time, well, since the last since June 1, we've had June, July, August have passed by. They have accrued, that we need to accrue for those. That's 3 months out of 12. And we know it's 12 because the 9% is annual. And yes, we're only going to have to pay 6 months worth of interest, but 3/12 has accrued. So 4 million times 9%, 4 times 9 is 36, or 360,000, times 1/4 is 90,000. And that's our interest. Once again, now I'm starting to have a little bit of trouble here with my so that's 90,000. We're going to call that accrued interest payable $50,000. And now we have, on the credit side, we have $4,106,000 plus 24, that's $4,130,000 plus 90 is $4,220,000. A debit to cash. And this is going to be this is going to be to issue bonds with detachable warrants. Okay, so there is what we're trying to achieve, the entry that we're looking for.